All right, so we're back with Batman 89 Echoes, issue 5, and like a broken horse. Is that what the saying is? A broken horse? And like a broken horse, it is like 4 months and about 100 delays later, as usual. But I'm honestly just happy that we're on our second last issue now, so I only gotta wait like another 6 months to wrap this bitch up. But your boy digresses. So since it's been a while since I covered issue 4, let's recap a little bit, because honestly, I kind of forgot what happened, even though it was the best issue of the bunch so far. And that's honestly saying quite a bit, since we had a pretty lukewarm first few issues. The bar was set really low. So issue 4 started with Bruce leaving Crane's fear session and having to keep himself awake long enough to write down what happened and what he saw. Bruce was given nepenthelene, speed delivered with that prime delivery via Robin, so he could forget that entire session so Batman wouldn't be used against him, since it was his trigger image for the fear toxin. Alfred, on his wit's end, gets drip-fed more information on what Bruce is up to while inside Arkham. I don't blame him for the state that he was in. Mans was pissed, and the lack of information that either of us received through these issues, well, I get it. We figure out Selina is a patient of Q's as they are in a session together. Harleen makes it known that she is giving everything up for primetime TV. And Selina isn't having it one bit. Bruce wakes up the next day and this universe's Riddler, Maynard, gives Bruce some backstory on Hugo Strange. Cool, finally, it's about fucking time. Later on, the best detectives that money can hire finally put the pieces together that the man that they thought was Firefly and Firefly are two different people. So they make their way to Arkham to get to the bottom of it. Desmond gets juiced to the tits as he gets let loose like a bull in a china shop inside of Harleen's persona therapy sessions. His trigger image is clowns, and in a room full of them, well, hell breaks loose. After all of the chaos, everyone seems to escape Arkham. Scarecrow makes an appearance, gasses up some motherfuckers. Batman jumps off a building, also making an appearance, and that leads us to this issue, issue 5. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. We open up to Barbie G at Wayne Manor, paying our guy Alfred a visit. She isn't looking pleased in the slightest. I don't think she is ever pleased. Radiating top B, top bitch energy. She needs to know if Bruce is behind all of the shenanigans that has been happening at Arkham, and until she can rule him out, our boy is number 1 on the list of suspects. A newspaper sits on the table. GCPD bribery scandal expands, with the most flattering picture of Barb's front and center. Hell yeah, paint her in a good light, boys. Alfred, unable to catch at least one day of rest since everyone who knows Bruce is always interrupting his much-needed alone time, assures top bitch how nothing that has been going on has been Mr. Wayne's doing, and to please leave him alone. Barbs presses in on Al and says how she understands, but can see how Bruce might feel that she's preventing him from a greater good, which is correct. She is preventing everyone from any kind of good and peaceful time. Alfred clenches his fist after Barbara clenches her fist to assure her that even though she has demons, he also has demons and isn't afraid of letting them loose. Our favorite butler assures Barbs how Bruce cared deeply about her father Jim, and with that, he also cares very deeply for her, despite her inability to keep it cool, and he can assure her that whatever his motives, our boy would never attempt to frame an innocent person. It simply isn't in his makeup. His poorly done makeup, to say the least. As this is all taking place, Bruce just waltzes into the kitchen, totally aloof on what is happening 6 feet to the right of him, as he goes to prepare himself some breakfast. His mind is on one track and one track only. Alfred has 8 boxes of Zorro Returns ready to be eaten by next week, and 6 jugs of milk on the edge of expiration. The first jug is 4 days expired, but Bruce doesn't mind. Barbs grabs her left shoulder and agrees with Alfred, letting her tough guy persona down. She says that she hopes how Bruce was behind everything so he might be able to fix it, the scandal that she found herself in return for her keeping his alter ego a secret from everyone else. Al wants to approach the problem rationally and asks if there is anyone who would have access to her finances. She says how, no, of course not. Alfred follows that up and asks if there's anyone at work who might be holding a grudge against her. Then suddenly, Barb sees Bruce and is startled by what she is seeing, almost like a ghost walks the manor. Bruce, aloof as can be, finally realizes there are people in his kitchen having a conversation about him. He asks if that is her and what she is doing there. Then she asks what he is doing there. Bruce says how that this is his house. He lives here. What the fuck do you mean? Alfred also asks what Bruce is doing there, proceeding to welcome him home. Our boy got sick of prison food and needed to come back for a box of his favorite. His blood sugar is low and needs it to shoot to catastrophic levels. Bruce also needs to remind himself of his mission. He usually spends every morning looking down at the box of Zorro Returns. He always calls back to the movie that he went to see the night his parents were gunned down all of those years ago. Looking the best that he's been all series, finally cleaned up and out of his shitty disguise, figures that the two people in his kitchen haven't turned the TV on yet, and if they have, they wouldn't be so surprised by him being home, because there's been a big bust out at Arkham. Barb's immediately back on her bullshit, corrects him by saying you busted out. Bruce puts an end to Top Bitch's game, swaying the conversation into his favor, and brings up the fact that wasn't she the one looking into all of the crazed vets, shooting all of the Batman imitators? Well, since she is so competent, he did her work for her and got to the bottom of it. Easy peasy. Better get him a corner office at the precinct, because he is now one of the boys, doing a better job than all of them combined. Our boy cuts a piece of meat and asks, "What is this?" and says how it's damn good. Alfred, loving the compliment but a little confused on his ignorance of food, says how it's pork tenderloin, sir, wrapped in pancetta with a rhubarb sauce. It's my shitty Alfred impression. He cooks that every second Tuesday and has been for the last 6 years. Bruce says how it's absolutely delicious, acting like it's the first time he has ever eaten pork tenderloin. And after the food that they had in the hatch, well, this shit is gourmet. Alfred proceeds to get a little more annoyed because, well, it is gourmet, but is just happy his boy is finally back to be the only one to get on his nerves. That is, after Barbs leaves and that little shit Drake stops popping by. But, as of late, with how things have been going, Al thinks that Drake isn't going to be stopping his visits anytime soon. Barbs glares harder than she has ever glared before, asking Bruce if he is going to tell her about the case that he cracked. Bruce keeps it cool and not serious at all, stating how it's that weirdo Doc Crane. He's got this fear juice. He thinks he killed Hugo Strange with it, and the way it works is, well, you see a random specific image, clown, scarecrow, Batman, whatever, and it triggers a psychotic episode depending on who you are and what you may be scared of. Barbs doesn't look happy one bit, as Bruce's nonchalance is getting on her last nerve. She congratulates him, or congratulates Batman for that matter. Another case is solved, all is well. Bruce says how, no, he kept his word, so she can take that Batman shit back and throw respect on the Wayne name. He actually had a severe Batman allergy for 6 to 8 hours. Alfred picks up the remote for the TV, wanting to see for himself what all of the commotion is about. Breaking news on Gotham's morning news, the Gotham News. Last night, there was a breakout and explosion at Arkham Psychiatric. Most of the inmates now roam the streets of the city as mystery surrounds what may have caused this disturbance. There were witnesses on site as well as members of the GCPD who say that they saw Batman at the scene of the explosion. Police speculate that he may have orchestrated the Firefly's daring escape, and the two are working together in unison with one another. Meanwhile, a group of mental patients appear to have taken their doctor hostage. Bruce's story folds right in front of him at his own doing. He really shouldn't have told him about turning the TV on. He winces and looks away as it is shown on the news that he did suit up as Batman. Our boy thought that he had the upper hand on Barbs, but quickly realizes that no, he does not. Barbs takes note of his bullshit as we transfer over to the scene of the crime. One of the inmates of Shady Lane is on what seems to be a list of demands that he is demanding. Now on his second one, the man demands transportation to get out of the city, and if they are followed, the hot TV psychiatrist is killed. The nearby cop understands. Schultz asks McCormick, the young scraggly looking Jimmy G looking guy, where their hostage negotiator is. None of them are equipped to deal with such demands. All they do is fold to every single one. The negotiator is stuck on the bridge, last he heard. McCormick wants Schultz to keep talking so they can buy themselves more time until the negotiator gets there. On the third demand, they want the snake pit, which is Arkham, to be closed down, as all of them were almost killed by the people running the place. As the inmate gets the people's full support, fuck the system, right? He is promised a full-on investigation on the deranged happenings inside the asylum. If they don't pursue this investigation and close the shithole down, Harleen is killed. There's no winning for her, so they say. And last but not least on the list of demands, $5 million in cash right now. That's a lot of money for a city such as Gotham with an economy that probably isn't the greatest set in the mid-90s. It feels like such a leap if you're trying to get out of this predicament without any trouble, and honestly, especially trying to keep Harleen alive. I think $1 million probably would have been more believable, I guess. Especially in a city where every cop is crooked and doesn't care about anybody in the city with any value of life, really. Like, these cops probably would have been like, $5 million? Fuck that. Kill the psychiatrist. Schultz demands the inmates to work with him a bit and to be a little more realistic since, well, the banks are closed. Where the hell are they supposed to get all that money anyways? The inmate has an idea. And that idea is C-A-N. Harleen quickly corrects him because it's actually A-C-N. Yeah, A-C-N. Chuck is watching the news, trying to enjoy some cheap takeout, thinking, what the fuck, man? Us? We don't have that kind of money. But since they're hostage, Harleen is an employee there. She is a big TV star, and that $5 million, well, that's pretty obtainable. They'll find the money somewhere if they look hard enough. Harleen, looking like a goth baddie with makeup running down her face, gives her good old pal Chuck a call to negotiate. He asks her what the hell is she doing. Q fills him in on how all of this is just one giant load of shit and asks him if he can imagine a more spectacular promo for her new show, The Dark Side with Dr. Q. They're getting free publicity on every channel as of right now. Chuck recognizes and respects the grift as he agrees, but $5 million? They don't even have a signed contract yet. This is asking a little much with so little traction so far. Harleen dives deeper into the demands, saying how the CEO of ACN is a multi-billionaire who loves her. Everyone loves her. Hell, the guy wipes his ass with $5 million bills. He's got shit to spare, and money as well. Besides, she did get that exclusive footage of Firefly, which was probably worth 10 mil alone. Chuck realizes that he is in way over his head and also realizes that he cannot say no to Harleen. He asks if she is in any danger. She'll be fine, only if he comes up with the ransom though. Fuck! His balls are firmly gripped by Miss Harleen Quinzel. Her nails were freshly done 2 days prior, razor sharp, recommended by Selena in their last session. If she grips harder and decides to dig in, God only knows what will happen to Chuck. Godspeed. We change back over to Bruce giving Barbs the grand tour of the Batcave. First place of interest is to show off the infamous place where Harvey D fell to his death. bringing back up old wounds in the process. And you know what? Barbs isn't having it. But when is she having it? To add salt to the wound, Bruce says how after Harvey plummeted down, he never bothered to go looking for his body. He never found him. He has no idea how deep it goes. He has no idea how deep his cave goes, despite him having to build the cave himself. Like building this massive platform that he stands on and everything else within his cave that has to give him some sort of awareness on how deep this place is. And with all that money he has to spare at his disposal, he could have at least spent a few $1,000s in search for Harvey's body. Harvey was his friend, so not going through that little bit of extra effort to gain that closure, since it's honestly the right thing to do, is a little cold and lacks compassion. But that's just me. Barbs catches the chill radiating from Bruce's nonchalance of Harvey's death and says how that yes, he did kill him. Bruce follows that up by saying how no, he tried to save him. Harvey was his friend, but just didn't attempt to try retrieving his body. As we officially open the penultimate issue, Chapter 5. Barbs walks away from this interaction with her fists clenched and attitude on high, reminding Bruce on his lack of empathy and lack of compassion towards anyone but himself. Our rich recluse doesn't have friends. He has employees, retainers, disposables. He is serving her chai tea in a cave tricked out with computers, cars, and chemistry sets. It's like a little boy's treehouse, only underground, almost like a cave, like a Batcave. Bruce stands there stunned with truth and lack of appreciation for his sick cave. Drake thought it was sick. Why can't Barbs think it's sick? Alfred stands there with tea ready to be served, relieved that all of the heat that he has received about Bruce these last few issues is finally lifted off of him and directed back at the man himself. Al stands lighter, knowing that he can go back to living life in the background as he cooks gourmet meals, watches Wheel of Fortune, and hangs out in the sick cave in which he also appreciates. Barbs throws her hands up in the air, annoyed, stating how it's like he's stuck at age 10, but is rich enough to afford all of his childhood fantasies that he never got to fulfill back then. If Barbs only realized how trauma works. Trauma has this tendency to almost keep you like locked in and stunted at this certain age with an inability to grow up. Or, on the other hand, you kind of just grow up too fast, skipping childhood altogether. Which is why a lot of adults who have went through trauma in their life kind of tend to hold on to a lot of their childhood interests. Since Bruce's childhood was completely robbed from him, he now has the ability to relive it with all of his sick toys and gadgets. Gain some awareness and understanding, Barbs. Come on. Bruce, finally done with the shit being dumped out by top bitch, pours only himself a cup of chai and asks the question, if she is the big shot cop that she claims and parades around to be, why doesn't she just do her job for a change so he doesn't always have to finish the cases for her? Jim never had this problem. Jim was at least competent and knew how to stand on his own. When he did collab with Batman, Jim at least brought things to the table and contributed. Barbs is enraged at the mention of her father's name and the flat-out disrespect of hers as she asks Bruce to follow up on that statement. Bruce breaks it down to the simplest terms only she could understand. Okay, so somebody has framed her, gave her a phony bank account, a secret identity. Why? The motives are either she poses a threat or she's got something that they want. Barbs finally thinks and puts the pieces together, realizing that they want Harvey's briefcase, which is full of dirt on crooked politicians. So, Barbs, riddle me this. Is it a crooked politician or someone ambitious who wants crooked politicians in their pocket? Or her back pocket, as Bruce leans into the fact that he knows who is behind this. Well, she does have an online source, an anonymous informant, if you will, who's been helping her put together an evidence trail. Bruce leans forward and says how, oh right, yeah, that's family tradition. Jimmy G had a guy in a mask and a cape, but the one he is thinking of is not a guy and did want Harvey's dirty briefcase. If this person, woman for that matter, could hack into the GCPD payroll, before Bruce can go any further, Barb states that they have a top-rated cybersecurity put in place, Leaky Lines. And with a name like that, it is to be trusted 100%, as they can be assured that their lines are always secured. Bruce follows up with, yeah, that's a solid outfit who they use at Wayne Tech. Alfred catches alarm at all of this and is even more alarmed at Bruce's ignorance, lack of insight, and proceeds to put some pieces together. After some hard work, Alfred hands a note over to our star detective. Bruce reads it, and it is shown that Leaky Lines, if rearranged the letters, spells out Selena Kyle. Oh my god. I gotta admit, Leaky Lines being an anagram for Selena Kyle is pretty cool and rather suiting, but another anagram, didn't we have one of these like a couple issues ago? I can't remember, but I swear we had one. This will always remind me of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, when the killer's last name was Benson and the guy's like, I'm Benson, Benson, Benson. Even though that's not necessarily an anagram, just playing on words like that will forever be ruined for me just because of that movie. We fade this interaction as we now open up to a Gotham's Knights game. Chuck is meeting up with the top chief of ACN to discuss business. He is a little late though, he missed the tip-off. Chuck apologizes and wastes no time on bringing up the Miss Q hostage situation. Upon discussion, drinks are poured, hookers are called, and blow is presented. Chuck wants to give in to all of the vices which are presented in front of him, which happen to be his favorite, but just simply can't due to the fact that he can only party with his best friend Zach from the Riddler Year One. Chuck's demons get a little too intense in the presence of his favorite of vices, as Zach is the only one who can match and accept his intensity. He has a tendency of getting a little too lost in the sauce without his best friend by his side. While meeting with the top chief, Chuck has to either say no to the blow or limit himself so he can keep his job and also work his magic. Chuck has no limits, and it takes everything inside of him to decline. The top chief agrees to the $5 million. He can go take the money out of his private box seat bathroom's garbage right now if he pleases, since he just wiped with that kind of cash. The CEO says how he likes Q. She's frisky and she's wild. She always calls him the OG. She knows how to throw respect on his status. He leans into Chuck and explains how OG is a saying that the young people have, proceeding to tell him what it means, until Chuck says how it doesn't mean what he thinks it means. It actually means old groper. The old groper is startled by this. It's what Q says behind his back. She's not a team player and is always out for herself. Chuck foils Q's plans and makes it known that he isn't a team player either, who is always out for himself. Chuck fills his boss in on how she's sticking them up on these contract negotiations, and she's practically accused him of sexual harassment at this point. The CEO is disgusted by this revelation. Chuck is her sponsor, her benefactor. This girl has absolutely no gratitude in the slightest. As we change over to the hostages and our lovely Miss Q, they note how a monitor is being set up. They're about to get a statement from ACN. Hell yeah, their victory is secured, or so they think. Chuck takes the screen. He informs the good people of Gotham how everyone at ACN love and respect their colleague, Dr. Harleen Quinzel. But a prestigious network such as ACN, where everyone is of top-notch moral authority, will never negotiate with, much less give into, terrorists. As Chuck reflects on the past night's ruthless biological attack on the asylum, Q's world starts to fade as rage fills her. Chuck's speech becomes inaudible. Tunnel vision kicks in as Harleen has to plan their next move. She demands to know where the nearest subway is located. One of the inmates says how it's on 5th and Drum. Harleen regains control of herself and states how when she says 3, to run. And without much of a countdown, she yells 3 as they all make a daring escape in the face of authority. The cops on the scene demand the escaped inmates to stop or they will shoot. News reporters quickly move in, which block the shots of McCormick and Schultz, annoying them in the process. Miss Quinzel and her band of escaped convicts pile into the news van as she floors it out of Arkham. Unsure on what to do next, she asks the inmates who haven't seen the light of day in months, or years even, how to get to the place that she works. Kinda dumb. Cops are now on their tail, as I assume they aren't going to be getting very far. We change over to Gotham Plaza, showcasing some very Burton and Schumacher-esque architecture within the statues. We catch a glimpse of Shrek's department store with the infamous cat clock logo. Two men stand there sharing a conversation. Both of them are unknown at this point. The unknown man on the right reminds the unknown man on the left how Kashif had a long-standing agreement with Doctor Strange, which they are prepared to honor on the same generous terms that they have established. The man on the left is revealed to be Jonathan Crane. How he escaped last issue's madness in One Piece is unknown, but I'm not here demanding logic from this comic. Crane informs the gentleman how the circumstances have now changed. He has tweaked his fear toxin, improved it. Strange is also dead and Kashif's in a coma. And at his age, in his condition, he's not likely to wake up, keeping whatever Kashif knows or whatever opportunity Kashif had strictly to Kashif and Kashif only. A man bursts out in hysterics behind the pair. Annoyed, Crane asks if he finds that funny. The man on the right fills Crane in on how he underestimates Kashif's resilience. Crane brings up the fact how he has other bidders to fill in on Kashif and Strange. Jonathan is now pinned up against the railing of the plaza by two men. The guy in the red hat states how it is unwise to dishonor a contract, sometimes even fatal, especially if dishonoring the contract is done in a way such as Crane has done. That slimy fuck. The crazed psychiatrist holds up one of his fear bombs, stating how the formula is his, hidden where nobody can get at it. And if anyone wants to play rough, he's got enough of his fear formula on him to send all of them, the ones down below, and the ones across the street into a permanent state of gibbering psychosis. So don't fuck with him, he's crazy. The man in the hat stands stern, looks Crane dead in the face, and asks if the psychiatrist will also be affected by what he is proposing to do. Crane, confident, looks down at the man and says how yes, including him, or, well, they can profit together. Without much of a choice, unable to call his obvious bluff, they are now prepared to match all of the doctor's offers, but one more thing, they will require a demonstration of the drug's potential to see what they're trying to get into bed with. And swiftly, within a day or two, the American authorities will come to investigate the doctor's mysterious absence from the asylum. Jonathan proceeds to fluff up the collar of his coat, smirks, and exits this interaction, pleased with how that went and how easy they were to sway in those moments of uncertainty. He just now needs to get back to Arkham to clean up his gene splicing lab though, for when the authorities come to do a sweep of the asylum, or even just to look into the explosion and full-on investigation that was promised earlier on. Crane can't have them finding his secret human projects that he's been quietly working on, trying to perfect. Now that Bruce, who he thinks is Firefly, or someone posing as Firefly for that matter, gave him the brilliant idea to do his gene splicing experiments on bats and not flies. He can't waste this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to create a half-man, half-bat hybrid. Flies have no genetic superiority. There's no advantage in mixing their DNA with humans. They were just the first creature he attempted his tests on, since a fly was conveniently in the same room with him at the time, and just couldn't have been bothered to find anything more superior from then on out. But bats? Oh man, there's so much they can explore with that. Bruce is back in his cave on some lab experiments. He thinks he has cracked Crane's formula after only a couple simple trials. With what he has obtained so far, he can maybe cook up a couple doses. It's almost the same as the formula Strange developed for Wayne Tech. Legally, our boy owns this. It's his. Bruce asks Alfred how he is doing on the cryptic puzzle he gave him to decipher. Another one from Maynard. Even though he doesn't need to solve all 6,543 to escape from Arkham since, well, he has escaped from Arkham, the completionist and perfectionist inside of him just can't let it go. Alfred, hard at work, says how what he calls a cryptic is simply an English-styled crossword. We learn how to solve them in the cradle, and it isn't as deep or as difficult as Bruce thinks it is. In Empty Castle, operated heavy machinery? Alfred, putting his genius to work, states, operated, ran in Empty Castle, C and E, giving you heavy machinery. Bruce knows that it spells crane. What? I'm so confused. This is dumb. But 500 demons dancing in a... What? 500 demons dancing in a tutu? Well, Bruce, the Roman numeral for 500 is D. And Desmond dancing is, of course, Esmond. So, Desmond in a tutu? Oh, hell. Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Bro, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, they couldn't have come up with anything better than this. Alfred says how the final clue appears to be a math formula. Replace the numbers with the relevant clues and read them in order. Bruce holds up the puzzle. Strange equals murdered. Crane equals killer. Desmond equals weapon. It's no surprise to Bruce, as he figured that out already. Well, Alfred states, the alarming part is what comes next. This is so confusing. What the fuck? Am I small-brained? Am I retarded? Or is this just dumb? Our boy puts more of the puzzle together as he realizes that there are foreign bidders and that Kashif knows. And if Crane has a buyer, he could be halfway out of the country by now. Since Kashif is in a coma, he is of no use. How convenient. And also, stupid puzzle. If Maynard could have just told him in plain English instead of racking his little bat brain, he could have figured this out a long time ago. As Bruce walks away, Alfred asks if he is going out. He pulls the cover off of his Batmobile, stating how he bankrolled the drug, but it is too dangerous to use, even for Batman. If he was caught or killed, it could have easily fallen into the wrong hands. Pretty much like right now. Stupid Maynard for giving him that stupid puzzle. But that doesn't matter. He's got to find Crane and stop him. He can't worry about Barbs though, he reminds himself as he approaches his suit, looking at the void within, waiting to be filled with another void. If she turns him in, she turns him in. They'll just have to... Before Bruce can finish his sentence, he screams out in a horrified shock. Alfred asks what is wrong as Bruce falls back and tells him to get away, referring to the Batsuit. So that means that the fear toxin is still taking hold of him, but why didn't this happen last issue when he suited up and made his grand appearance at Arkham for the first time this series? I smell a plot hole. Alfred assures our scared boy how he is safe and how it's alright. He's home with him. There's nothing to be afraid of. When Bruce saw the costume, it caused him to see a vision. Alfred asks when he was given Crane's fear toxin and when he got his Nepenthelene same night speed delivered via Prime through Robin, if there is any chance he happened to doze off before he took it. Bruce recalls back to say how that's impossible. He doesn't even remember anything he wrote down in that cell, but whatever it is, he's fine. It's whatever, he'll be fine. It's all fine. On his way out in his Batmobile, he is on the phone with Drake. He informs the Avenging Eagle how Crane is headed out of the country unless they can flush him out first. Al is sending over a picture to his protege via fax, and he wants it plastered everywhere. Uptown, downtown, bus stations, airports, inside urinals, you name it. Drake is agreeing to Batman's demands and asks if he needs anything else. As a wanted poster of Jonathan Crane is being faxed and printed, Drake assures Batman how he's got a few friends, surprisingly, and that they can help him plaster these out in the streets and tag every urinal in the process. We are in front of ACN as smoke is rising from the sewers. An anonymous person is walking away from the building as they're slipping a piece of paper in their bag as a wanted poster of Jonathan Crane hangs nearby. Drake has been busy. An HVAC truck is also parked out front of the building. The HVAC specialist enters the news building and states how he has a work order there. Problem with the filters. The guard at the front desk directs him to the mechanical room, but has to unlock it first. As the guard is opening up the room, he questions the mysterious man if he has seen him before, because, well, he kind of looks familiar. The man says how that he is a famous TV star doing HVAC on the side. That's why he looks so familiar. Not because of the newly plastered wanted posters everywhere. It is shown that the man is Crane, and he got into the mechanical room as easy as one would expect. He thanks the guard for his assistance. Doc Crane kneels down, opens up his suitcase, and pulls a timer out of it. This man has plans. Once finished, making his exit, he thanks the guard, stating how it's all fixed, all is well, as he proceeds to hold out a package asking if anybody dropped it, since he apparently found it on the floor. The guard catches wind and realizes a little too late on where he saw the HVAC man's face from, so he calls security. As he does, fear gas leaks out from the vents, making him unable to finish his call. 2 ACN employees are walking and talking. The man is calling back to a conversation he recently had with Chuck. They got Firefly, Batman, some weird-ass scarecrow-looking dude. Now they got Q. What did they even lead this one with? A scream is heard as the woman takes note. They check around to find the downed security guard, Herbie, down and out. The woman thinks he might have had a heart attack or something. As she picks up the phone, she informs the operator that there is an emergency. The man picks up the envelope and, to his surprise, finds out it has been addressed to him. He pulls out a cassette tape which reads "Play Me" with a pumpkin on it. How ominous. The woman demands an ambulance to be sent to ACN immediately. Crane is now making his exit from ACN in his HVAC van. Speeding directly through the security check stop, the woman tries stopping him, but doesn't succeed in her efforts. Conveniently, she is a friend of Drake's, putting 2 and 2 together that the man in the van is also the man on the wanted poster. She calls her boy and gets down the license plate for him. We are now in Kashif's room as that's not his name, Rakeem is checking in on our combed out boy after all of the ruckus that has transpired. The man by his bed is spouting off some Islamic prayer and assures the guard how Kashif is fine. Rakeem asks if there's been changes in his vitals as he seems to be improving. The praying guy is annoyed by Rakeem barging in on his prayer and reassures him for the 3rd time that Kashif is fine. He is being healed by prayer and to be gone. Rakeem listens to the enraged man and leaves the room. That's a pretty lame interaction. It's kind of pointless, but we are reminded that Kashif is resilient. Drake is out ripping and skirting on his Robin-mobile as he is on the line with B-Dubs. Ya boy informs our boy how Kashif is still out. He's looking better than before, but still out as fuck. Kashif has some kind of private flunky, and soon Rakeem is gonna find out who is paying for that. Huh? On the move, on top of some roofs, Batsy lets his sidekick know that he received the 411 on the white van. He just made visual contact, which is either the van holding Madogma and her group of escaped convicts, or the van holding the deranged doctor who loves to hide in the corners of broom closets. They're both out in suspicious white vans. Harleen makes her way into ACN as a guard stops her to say that he heard she was taken hostage. The hit star assures Bert how it was just all one big publicity stunt for her new show, The Dark Side with Mr. Q. The Dark Side with Dr. Q, where she plans to exploit the mentally ill to gain where she plans to exploit the mentally ill to gain profit off of everyone's misfortunes and worst days of their lives from anyone who decides to come on to her show. She lets Bert know how all of the escaped-looking convict motherfuckers are with her, and they go on in 20. As Q enters the elevator with little Danny DeVito looking like a dog on a leash, the other elevator rider is shocked to see Harleen. The lady thought she was kidnapped. "What the fuck? Siobhan! Just the person I wanted to see!" Harleen tells the punk woman who is named, Siobhan. Chuck is in his office admiring the sick view he obtained by being such a sleazy scumbag. Zach really taught him everything he knows, and it really paid off by him getting the most prestigious work view that sleaziness can get. He'll never get tired of it. Gotham in all of its glory. Such a soul-soothing place to be. Up there, the air is so clean that you can't even smell the crime and the graft and the filthy people below. The peasants. He informs the person he is talking to how there's a place up there for them as well. The person is Alicia, Joker's girlfriend. As Chuck pours some champagne, she thanks him and brings up how he was saying something about a show. Chuck tells Alicia how it will be huge. It's a show about the great criminals, because we all secretly want to be outlaws, monsters, maniacs, cannibals even. I think that's just you, Chuck. Sick freaks galore, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Sick freaks du jour. Alicia asks the sleazeball if he wants her to do another interview. No, he wants her to be the host. She's charismatic, photogenic, articulate. Now that she's off the painkillers and with her killer resume, she'll be perfect. The elevator door opens to reveal Harleen and her clowned up goons. She states how they aren't his dinner and apologizes by the big surprise she brings to his office. Q demands Chuck to get a camera crew up there muy pronto because they have a brand new hostage crisis on their hands. As Q's crew is setting up, they got 30 seconds. Chuck is unable to be contacted as he isn't picking up. The man who is getting his makeup done by Siobhan demands Wendy to make a call. ACN is now live. They're rolling with headlines of a new terror threat. Paul makes his introduction to Gotham and all of the viewers watching as he states how they open tonight's episode with a videotaped message delivered to their offices by a masked man claiming to be the terrorist bomber, Firefly, Ted Kaczynski, who escaped earlier today from Arkham Psychiatric Hospital. While they cannot vouch for the authenticity of the tape, they present it now, raw, uncut, and unedited, for reasons that will soon be obvious. The show sweeps the nation as it piques the interest of everyone tuned in. The tape rolls. It's Scarecrow.
People of Gotham, I am the one you call Firefly. You branded me a terrorist and put me in a madhouse. Now that I am free, I will live up to your good opinion of me. What do I want? I have no demands. I feed on your fright. And tonight, at exactly 9:06 p.m., the banquet will begin. You will have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Paul ends the tape and informs the people how they've turned a copy over to the police. He states how they have no idea what form this terror attack may take, but it's 9:05. 9:06 is 1 minute away. Tear gas leaks down from the ceiling. Paul lets the world know how the masked man released what appeared to be a bioweapon before he can finish, he notices green gas making its way around him and calls attention to it. Before he can fully grasp what is going on, it's too late. The fear has grabbed hold. He takes one look at the camera placed before him and frantically urges to get that thing away from him. As he jumps over his desk in a panic, the room fills with screams as the gas now covers every inch. The crew is running around, facing their fearful demons in a battle set only for them to lose. Paul has the cameraman in a chokehold. A nearby crew member ties a rope around a woman's neck. The woman gains control of the situation, reverses positions, and throws him down onto the desk, breaking one of his teeth. Blood splattered in the process. All of this is still live on network as Gotham and anybody else who is tuning in is witnessing the chaos. A lady at the local bar is shocked to see that the guy on TV who was slammed into the desk was in fact killed right in front of everyone for the world to see. Her date next to her doesn't believe any of it. It's fake news and has to be some kind of gimmick. Schultz, who is trying to enjoy his off-duty beer, questions what the fuck is happening and why it's happening. This is all too crazy for some kind of gimmick. Someone jumps from the top floor of ACN, plummeting to their death, proving that it's no gimmick, as he crashes on top of a vehicle 100 stories below, shocking 2 nearby civilians. Bro, everyone looks like Schultz, I swear to God. Crane is making his way downtown and catches out of the corner of eye the wanted poster with his face plastered all over it. That was bad. Crane is making his way downtown and catches out of the corner of his eye the wanted poster with his face plastered all over it. Fuck, this is not good. As the mad psychiatrist, now mad, walks away from the poster, a nearby employee of Royal Auto Body takes note that Crane is 8 feet in front of him. On the line with Drake, since Drake has eyes and ears everywhere, lets him know that Crane is spooked and heading back to the van as they speak. He asks Drake if his boy is in place. Fuck yeah, he is. Might need a little extra manpower tonight though. Then asks if he is game. Fuck yeah, he is. Everyone's down. As Crane is seen dumpster diving for his costume since one of his gas masks is lying nearby on the ground, he hears a clink, diverting his attention. Masked up, he asks who's there to show themselves. He wants to talk. A nearby voice takes a hold of the air around the doctor and fills his surroundings. Piece of advice, Crane. Don't get high on your own supply. His neck is shot with a dart, which is carrying Crane's own fear toxin. The crazy doctor takes note and asks what has been done to him. Oh, he knows.
I'm going to teach you everything you always wanted to know about fear, but were too afraid to.
The fear toxin grabs hold of Crane. There is no fighting this off. Batman appears before Crane as the doctor is now shitting and pissing his pants in horror, begging for him to just be killed. Pathetic. Big, scary, tough psychiatrist can't handle his own shit. Batsy assures him how he isn't going to kill him. He doesn't like him that much to do such a thing. Gas masked up and ready to party, he informs Crane how he is going to spend the next few decades going into a blind panic every time he remembers this night. Every time he remembers Batman. But before things can go any further, they are both lit up. A nearby voice appreciates Batman's kindness and his invaluable assistance. The men from earlier from Crane's Gotham Plaza interaction show themselves and make it known that with their deepest gratitude, Batman shall step aside since Crane belongs to them, ending issue 5, teasing issue 6, Gotham's Witching Hour. Nice. That was a pretty tense last little bit, to say the least. I wonder what these guys are going to do now that they have Batman at their fingertips and also Crane in their possession, drugged up to the tits. They obviously seem to be working with Kashif, so we'll see where this goes. So now that they have Crane as well as his fear toxin, we have one issue to wrap this shit up and see how the Echo Saga will decide to end itself. This issue, honestly, wasn't as good as the last one, but was better than every single one that came before it. So it's pretty good to know that this last little stretch of issues is turning out to be pretty alright. Because honestly, the first few issues were pretty damn underwhelming since they were spent setting up this big climax with little to no information on what was going on. Every time Alfred got annoyed, I was right there with him. Because like, bro, just tell us. Tell us what's going on. It's not hard. And honestly, the longer that this series stays unwrapped and the more that it gets constantly delayed, since I've been covering this since November of 2023, which has been well over a year. Like, that's a long time to wrap this up, but it's just made me a lot less enthused about everything that's come before and the things to come ahead. If this series was like 8 or 9 issues, I gotta admit, my interest would have completely died by now. But knowing that there's only one issue left, thank fuck, it makes me excited enough to keep going and to keep my interest there. Like, there's honestly no excuse for all of the delays that have come between each issue because the quality does not justify all of the time that we've had to wait between each issue. because this series just isn't living up to just all of this weight. But like, I digress. I'll stop talking about the delays. The Maynard puzzles and riddles that they have in here, dude, they're so fucking brain rot. I don't know if I'm just small brain retarded or what, but they're just so dumb. They really could have come through with something just so much better and thought provoking, but they didn't. You can't help but just like roll your eyes and groan to yourself every time one of these riddles and puzzles is trying to be solved, which has been 2 so far, and that's too many. And I gotta say that Bruce's lack of perception to realize that Leaky Lines rearranged was Selena Kyle, that was pretty surprising, because for being the world's greatest detective, he do be kind of dumb to say the least. I dive a little more into my thoughts surrounding this issue, the things I liked and whatnot, but I think I'm going to save it for next issue when I end it with like an overall discussion surrounding this series. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video. My name is Freddy Savage, bringing you Batman 89 Echoes issue 5. I'll see you in the finale for issue 6. Have a good night.